The first time I saw my obituary.
I was sitting in a Savannah motel with blood drying on my sleeve. My husband had written the notice himself. Claire Bennett, beloved wife, devoted daughter, and respected financial consultant, died Tuesday night in a tragic accident. There was even a photograph from our 10th anniversary. I was wearing a blue dress, and Daniel had his arm around me. Anyone looking at it would have seen a happy couple. I saw the hand that had pushed my car toward the edge of a bridge less than 12 hours earlier. According to the obituary, my funeral would be held on Friday. According to Daniel, I was already dead. He was wrong. My name is Claire Bennett, and for 11 years I believed I had a good marriage. Daniel was charming and successful. He owned a growing real estate company called Bennett Coastal Development. I worked behind the scenes, managing accounts and reviewing contracts. That arrangement worked until the night I noticed that $480,000 had disappeared. At first, I thought it was an accounting error. The money had moved through 3 consulting companies with ordinary names: Pine Harbor Solutions, Atlantic Management Group, Mercer Advisory, but the addresses were fake. 2 companies had been created within the same week. All 3 payments had been approved with my electronic signature. I had approved nothing. I printed the records and locked them in my desk. Then I checked the old files. The deeper I looked, the worse it became. Daniel had been moving money for almost 3 years. Some came from our company. Some came from investors. Nearly $2 million had traveled through those fake businesses. At 11 that night, Daniel stepped into my office. "Still working?" he asked. His tone was warm, but his eyes went straight to my printer. "Just cleaning up a few things." He smiled. "You worked too hard." Then he kissed my forehead. I had known that man for 13 years. I knew the smell of his cologne and the small scar beneath his chin. But when his lips touched my skin that night, I felt as if a stranger had entered the room. I waited until he left. Then I photographed every document and emailed the files to a private account he did not know about. The next morning, I told Daniel I had found the missing money. For 1 second, his face changed. The charming mask disappeared, and I saw something cold beneath it. Then he laughed. "You scared me," he said. "It is part of the Harbor Point deal. The lawyers changed the structure. Why is my signature on payments I never approved?" His smile faded. He closed the office door. "Claire, you have been exhausted lately. Are you sure you are remembering correctly?" That question was the beginning of the end. For weeks, Daniel had been telling people I was forgetful. He mentioned it at dinner with friends. He told my mother I was under terrible stress. He even scheduled an appointment with a neurologist and said he was worried about me. I had thought he was being caring. Now I understood. He was building a story in which I could not trust my own mind. "I remember everything," I said. His eyes hardened. "Then remember who built this life for you." I stood up. "We built it together." He stared at me for a long moment. Then the warmth returned to his face as if he had flipped a switch. "You are right," he said. "Let us go home. We can talk after dinner." I should have called the police immediately. I should have walked out with the documents and never looked back. Instead, I got into his car. That mistake almost killed me. Daniel drove toward our house on Wilmington Island, but after 20 minutes, he turned onto an old coastal road. The rain had started, and the marsh outside looked black beneath the clouds. "This is not the way home," I said. "There is construction ahead." There was no construction. He stopped near an abandoned boat ramp. Another vehicle waited in the darkness, a black SUV. My heart began to pound. "Daniel, What is happening? He did not answer. The driver's door of the SUV opened, and a man named Wade Mercer stepped out. Wade handled security for Daniel's company. He was a former police officer with heavy shoulders and a quiet voice. I had never liked the way he watched people. Daniel unlocked my door. I grabbed the handle and pulled it closed. What are you doing? He looked at me without anger, and that frightened me more than shouting would have. You found something you were never supposed to find. We can fix this, I whispered. No, Claire. I can fix it. Wade opened my door. I kicked him and ran into the rain. I made it 10 steps before he caught my coat. I twisted free, leaving the coat in his hands, and ran toward the road. Daniel drove after me. The headlights grew bright behind my back. Then the car struck me. I flew onto the hood, hit the windshield, and rolled into the grass. Pain exploded through my shoulder. My ears rang. I heard Daniel and Wade arguing. You hit her too hard, Wade said. Put her in her car. They dragged me through the mud. I kept my eyes closed and my body loose. Daniel checked my pulse, but his fingers were shaking. He did not feel the weak beat at my neck. They placed me behind the wheel of my car, which Wade had driven there earlier. Daniel poured whiskey over my dress. Then Wade put the car in neutral and pushed. The ground tilted toward the river. I opened my eyes. The car rolled faster. I reached for the brake, but my injured arm would not move. The front wheels crossed the edge, and the world dropped. Cold water burst through broken glass. The car sank nose first. My seatbelt locked. I fought it until spots filled my vision. Then I remembered the small emergency blade I kept on my keychain. I cut the belt. I kicked through the cracked passenger window and forced myself into the black water. When I reached the surface, Daniel and Wade were gone. I crawled into the marsh and stayed beneath tall grass until another car passed. An elderly fisherman named Earl found me 2 miles away. He wanted to call an ambulance, but I begged him not to. My husband tried to kill me, I said. If the police report my name, he will finish the job. Earl believed me. His sister owned a roadside motel. She cleaned my wounds and rented me a room under another name. That was where I saw the obituary. Daniel had not waited for officials to recover a body. He claimed the current must have carried me into the river. He told everyone I had been drinking, confused, and depressed. And because he had prepared them for weeks, they believed him. I read the notice twice. Then I reached for my hidden email account. The files were gone. Someone had changed the password. Daniel had stolen my evidence, my reputation, and my life. But as I stared at the smiling photograph in my obituary, I noticed one detail he had forgotten. The funeral was open to the public. If Daniel wanted me dead badly enough to hold a funeral without a body, I decided I would give him exactly what he wanted. I would stay dead, and from inside the grave he had built for me, I would destroy him. Sisirat, Behind, Tchef Lawars. The next morning, Earl brought me a prepaid phone and an old laptop. I called the only person I still trusted. Her name was Maya Torres. We had met in college, long before Daniel. Maya was an investigative reporter in Atlanta. She had spent her career exposing crooked officials, dishonest contractors, and people who thought money could bury the truth. When she answered, I said, "Do not say my name." There was a pause. "Claire." I nearly cried at the sound of my name. "Everyone thinks I am dead. Where are you?" "I cannot tell you yet. Daniel tried to kill me." Amaya did not waste time asking whether I was sure. She asked what happened, and I told her everything. When I finished, she said, "Your email was probably accessed through the recovery account. Did you save the files anywhere else?" I had not. Then I remembered an old habit. Every month, I created an offline backup of company accounts on a small encrypted drive. I kept it in the locked firebox beneath my office bookshelf. Daniel knew about the firebox, but he did not know I had created a false bottom beneath the documents. The drive might still be there. I need to enter the office, Maya said. It will be watched. Then we do it during your funeral. On Friday morning, Maya drove to Savannah. She brought me a dark wig, large glasses, makeup, black dress. You should stay here, she said. I need to see him. Claire, he tried to murder you. I know. I want to see whether he mourns me. The funeral took place in a white church near Forsyth Park. I sat in the back beneath a wide hat. My shoulder burned, and every movement hurt, but anger kept me upright. More than 100 people attended. My mother sat in the front row. She looked smaller than I remembered. Daniel held her hand. I wanted to run to her. I wanted to say I was alive. But Wade stood near the side entrance, watching every face. Daniel walked to the pulpit. He wore a perfect black suit. His eyes were red, but no tears fell. Claire was the heart of my life, he said. She had struggled in recent months, but I tried to protect her. I only wish I could have done more. I gripped the wooden bench until my fingers hurt. He was not only mourning me. He was blaming me for my own murder. Then a woman placed a hand on his shoulder. Her name was Natalie Pierce. Natalie was our company's legal director. She was 34, beautiful, and always perfectly dressed. Daniel had hired her 2 years earlier. I had invited her into my home. She had eaten at my table and called me her friend. At my funeral, she leaned close to my husband and whispered something that made him smile. The smile lasted only a second, but I saw it. Maya saw it too. She slipped out while the choir began singing and drove to the office. I remained in the church. After the service, Daniel stood beside an empty, closed casket and accepted condolences. There was no body inside, only the blue dress from our anniversary photograph. My mother approached the casket. Daniel hugged her and said, "I will always take care of you." That was when I realized my mother might be his next victim. She had inherited a large piece of riverfront land from my grandfather. Daniel had tried for years to convince her to sell it to his company. She always refused because she wanted the property to remain in our family. Now I was gone. Under my mother's will, Daniel would eventually control the land through my estate. My death was worth far more than the stolen $2 million. Outside, I followed Daniel from a distance. He entered the black SUV with Natalie. Wade drove. Before the door closed, Natalie kissed Daniel. The betrayal cut deeper than I expected. I had prepared myself for fraud and murder. I had not prepared myself to see my friend touch my husband before my funeral flowers had wilted. My phone vibrated. Maya had sent one message. Giotishi duri, sami io esafal ongmi. I hurried to Earl's pickup and drove toward the address Maya had given me. The rain returned, turning the street silver. I called her, but she did not answer. 10 minutes later, she sent another message. Parkinji, garaji. Lally vel for you are. I found her car boxed in by Wade's SUV. Wade stood beside the driver's door. I pulled the hat low and walked toward the stairwell, pretending to speak on my phone. Through the concrete openings, I could hear him. "Give me the drive," Wade said. "What drive?" Maya answered. "You went into Claire's office. Cameras saw you. I was collecting something for her mother. Do not make this difficult. I needed a distraction." A red emergency alarm box hung beside the stairwell. I broke the glass with my shoe and pulled the handle. A siren screamed through the garage. Wade looked toward the stairs. Maya started her car, struck the SUV's rear bumper, and forced her way past. I ran down 3 levels and jumped into Earl's pickup. Maya followed me out. We did not stop until we reached the motel. Inside the room, she removed the encrypted drive from her coat. I think this was worth nearly getting killed for, she said. We connected it to the laptop. My password opened the first folder. It contained years of financial records, contracts, and approval logs. The missing money was there, but so was something much larger. Daniel had created false property assessments for neighborhoods damaged by hurricanes. His company bought homes cheaply from frightened owners, then used shell businesses to resell the land at enormous profits. Local officials received payments. Inspectors were bribed. Insurance claims were manipulated. And Natalie had written the agreements that hid it all. Then we found a folder labeled CB Medical. Inside were copies of emails between Daniel and a private doctor. They discussed medications that could cause confusion, dizziness, and memory problems. The doctor had prescribed those pills to me as vitamins after Daniel said I was tired. He had been drugging me. The final email was dated 1 week before the crash. Daniel wrote, "Once the condition is established, an accident will be accepted. Afterward, proceed with Eleanor." Eleanor was my mother. My blood went cold. Maya read the sentence again. "We go to federal authorities now." "Not yet." She stared at me. "We have evidence of attempted murder. We have files that Daniel's lawyers will call stolen or fabricated. Wade has friends in local law enforcement. If they learn I survived, Daniel will disappear, destroy the rest, and reach my mother before anyone can stop him." I pointed to another document. It was a contract for the sale of my mother's land. The closing was scheduled for Monday. Her electronic signature was already attached. My mother had never agreed to sell. Daniel planned to forge her approval, take the property, and perhaps kill her afterward. We had 3 days. Maya asked, "What are you going to do?" I looked at the obituary lying beside the computer. "Daniel believes he buried a confused woman," I said. "I am going to introduce him to her ghost." Par terti hwtontiagiuil man. Daniel's greatest weakness was not greed. It was control. He needed every person in every room to believe the story he had written. So I began by changing the story. On Saturday morning, Maya sent an anonymous email to Daniel. The subject line contained 4 words. I ramambiar the wat r. The message included a photograph of his shoe print beside the boat ramp. I had taken it with my phone while hiding in the marsh. He opened the email 6 minutes later. Maya had placed a tracking link inside. It showed that Daniel forwarded the message to Natalie and then called Wade. Our second message went to Natalie. BL Wideras, EMPT Safan. Stiel and HOSB end. We attached no photograph. We did not need one. An hour later, Natalie left Daniel's house carrying 2 suitcases. Daniel followed her into the driveway. They argued. Wade arrived and took both of their phones. The 3 people who had worked together were beginning to fear one another. While Maya watched them, I went to my mother. I could not reveal myself yet, but I could protect her. My mother lived in a small brick house in Richmond Hill. I called from the prepaid phone. "Mom, listen carefully. Do not say my name." She stopped breathing. "Claire, I am alive." She began to sob. "I cannot explain everything now. Daniel tried to kill me. And you are in danger. Do not sign anything. Do not take medicine he gives you. Pack a bag and leave through the back door." "Where are you?" "Somewhere safe. I want to see you." "You will, I promise. But first, you have to trust me." The Maya's friend, retired federal agent Thomas Reed, took my mother to a secure apartment in Atlanta. He reviewed our evidence and wanted something stronger, a confession connecting Daniel to the crash. "Digital records can be challenged," he said. "A living victim changes everything. But once you appear, they will move quickly. We need them in one place, speaking freely." I knew how to make that happen. Daniel kept his most sensitive records in a private vault beneath the wine cellar at our house. He believed I did not know the code. I had watched him enter it in a reflection 2 years earlier. Sunday night, Maya and Reed remained outside while I entered through the garden door. My key still worked. The house smelled like lilies from my funeral. Photographs of me had been arranged across the living room. Cards covered the table. In the center stood the silver urn Daniel had purchased for ashes no one had recovered. Beside it was an open bottle of champagne and 2 glasses. I felt no heartbreak then, only clarity. Upstairs, Natalie's clothes hung in my closet. She had moved into my house 2 days after my funeral. I went to the wine cellar and entered the vault code. The door clicked open. Inside were passports, cash, property deeds, and a black ledger. The ledger listed payments to officials, inspectors, and police officers. Wade's name appeared beside several large amounts. Then I found an insurance policy on my life. $5 million. It had been increased 3 months earlier, using my forged signature. Beneath it was another policy. This one insured my mother for $3 million. Daniel's company was the beneficiary because of a fake loan agreement secured by her property. He had turned both of our deaths into business deals. I photographed every page. Then I heard the front door open. Daniel had returned early. I closed the vault and moved behind a rack of wine. Footsteps entered the kitchen above me. Natalie's voice followed. Wade says Claire could have survived. Wade is panicking, Daniel said. Someone entered the office. Someone has the drive. Maya Torres. Then why did the message mention the coffin? Silence. Daniel walked down the cellar stairs. I crouched in darkness, holding my breath. He stopped 3 feet from me. Claire, he said. For one wild second, I thought he could see me. Then he laughed softly. If you are here, sweetheart, come out. He walked toward the vault. Natalie remained on the stairs. Do you know what I regret? He asked the empty room. I regret letting Wade handle the car. He always leaves problems unfinished. I started the audio recorder on my phone. Natalie said, Stop talking. To whom? My dead wife. To whoever put a camera in this house. Daniel froze. Natalie held up a tiny device she had found beneath a living room table. It was not ours. Someone else was watching them. Daniel grabbed her wrist. Did you put that there? You think I am spying on you. I think you are preparing to save yourself. She slapped him. As they argued, I slipped behind the staircase and climbed through the garden window. I reached Reed's car with the photographs and the recording. But a new question followed me. If Maya and Reed had not planted the camera, who had? The answer arrived the next morning. Wade called the prepaid phone. I know you are alive, he said. I stayed silent. Daniel thinks I failed him. Natalie thinks I am going to expose her. They will both sacrifice me. You helped them murder me. I helped stage an accident. Daniel said you were unconscious. He said you would not feel anything. His attempt to sound innocent disgusted me. Why did you put a camera in the house? Insurance. Said me the recordings. I want the black ledger. I do not have it. But you know where it is. He gave me a meeting place. An abandoned cannery beside the river. Midnight. Reed said it was a trap. I agreed. That was why I decided to go. Not alone, and not unprepared. Before midnight. Maya placed 2 cameras inside the cannery. Reed waited outside with a former colleague. I wore a microphone beneath my coat. Wade arrived carrying a pistol. Where is the ledger? He asked. Tell me what happened at the boat ramp. You know what happened. Say it. He stepped closer. Daniel planned it. Natalie created the medical history and insurance papers. I brought your car. Daniel hit you because you ran. We put you inside and pushed it into the river. There it was. Clear and complete. And my mother. Monday morning, Daniel will take her land. After that, he planned a medication accident. She is safe. Wade smiled. Not as safe as you think. A light flashed behind me. Daniel and Natalie stepped from the shadows. Wade had brought them. Daniel pointed a gun at my chest. For the first time since the crash, my husband saw me alive. His face lost all color. "Hello, Daniel," I said. "Did you miss me?" "Part if you are." Last DAL for several seconds. No one moved. Then Daniel smiled. Even with a gun in his hand and his dead wife standing before him, he tried to take control. "Claire," he said gently, "you are injured. You have been confused. Put down the phone and come home." I almost laughed. "You pushed my car into a river." "Wade did that." Wade turned toward him. "You ordered it." Natalie raised her hands. "Both of you need to stop." They had arrived together, but their partnership was already breaking apart. Daniel looked at Wade. "Give me the recordings. Give me half the money and a plane. You are in no position to bargain. Neither are you." Wade pointed his pistol at Daniel. Two armed men stood 10 feet apart. Natalie moved behind a steel column. I heard Reed's voice through the tiny receiver in my ear. "Stay still. We are moving in." Daniel noticed the wire beneath my collar. "She is recording us." He fired at the ceiling. The sound exploded through the cannery. Wade fired back. The bullet struck Daniel's shoulder, spinning him around. Natalie screamed and ran toward a side door. I dropped behind an old conveyor belt. Reed and his colleague entered with weapons drawn. "Federal agents? Drop the gun." Wade ran toward the river exit. Reed's colleague followed him. Daniel crawled behind a stack of wooden crates. His pistol lay several feet away. I should have stayed hidden. Instead, I moved toward the phone that had fallen from my hand. It held Wade's confession and Daniel's words from the cellar. Daniel reached it first. He grabbed the phone and ran through the side door. I followed. Outside, wind moved across the dark river. Daniel climbed into a sedan, leaving blood on the door. Before I could reach him, he drove away. Natalie was gone too. Reed returned alone. Wade had escaped by boat. "We have the camera recordings," Maya said. "His confession is safe." But I knew Daniel. He would not simply run. His passports and money remained in the vault. More importantly, he still believed he could win. At 6 the next morning, my mother received a message. It appeared to come from me. Daniel had used my stolen phone. "Mom," Daniel confessed. "Everything is safe now. Meet me at the Harbor Point sales office at 9. Come alone." My mother showed the message to Reed. We understood immediately. Daniel thought she was still hiding somewhere in Savannah. He planned to use her as a hostage, force the land transfer, and escape with the company's money. So we let him believe the message had worked. At 8:45, my mother's car entered the Harbor Point development. Reed drove. My mother was not inside. The sales office stood near an unfinished hotel overlooking the ocean. Police and federal agents surrounded the area at a distance. I entered the office through a rear construction tunnel. Daniel waited in the main room with his injured shoulder bandaged. Natalie sat beside him. Her hands were tied. "Where is Eleanor?" he demanded. "Somewhere you will never find her." He raised his gun. "I did not want any of this," he said. "You forced me. I forced you to steal money. I built everything. You sat in an office and judged me. I protected you. You limited me." The truth finally appeared. Daniel did not hate me because I had discovered his crimes. He hated me because my honesty had always reminded him of what he was. Natalie spoke quickly. "Claire, I can help you. I have copies of every contract." Daniel struck her. "She helped you drug me," I said. I did not know he would kill you, Natalie cried. He said he would send you away. He said the medicine would make the divorce easier. Daniel laughed. Now she is innocent. No, I said. She is afraid. I took one step closer. It is over, Daniel. Wade confessed. Wade will be dead before noon. Then you admit he knew everything. His eyes moved toward the ceiling. He was searching for cameras. I smile yes. They are listening. Daniel grabbed Natalie and pressed the gun against her neck. Tell them to bring my wife's mother. I am your wife. You stopped being my wife when you opened those files. Natalie drove her heel into his foot and twisted away. The gun fired. Glass shattered. I rushed him. We fell against a table. Pain tore through my injured shoulder, but I held his wrist with both hands. He was stronger than I was. The gun turned slowly toward my face. Then Natalie picked up a heavy metal model of the hotel and struck him across the head. Daniel collapsed. Agents entered seconds later. They handcuffed him while he shouted that I was unstable, confused, and dangerous. He repeated the lie until no one listened. Natalie surrendered and asked for a lawyer. I thought it was finished. Then Reed received a call. Wade had taken my mother. He had followed Reed's friend to the secure apartment before the meeting. While everyone focused on Harbor Point, Wade entered through a service door and forced my mother into his vehicle. An hour later, Wade sent us a video. My mother sat tied to a chair inside an unfamiliar room. Wade stood behind her. Bring me the black ledger and $5 million, he said. No police. Noon at Pier 17. The ledger was still in Daniel's vault. The money did not exist. We had less than 2 hours. Daniel sat in an interview room, smiling through the blood on his face. Wade will kill her, he told me. But I can help. What do you want? A deal. Even in handcuffs. He believed every life had a price. He offered the location of Wade's emergency safe house in exchange for my statement that the crash had been an accident. Reed warned me not to agree. I looked at the man I had loved for 11 years. Then I said, give me the address, and I will tell the world exactly what happened. Daniel mistook that for surrender. He gave us the address. What he did not understand was that the truth was the only deal I ever intended to keep. Pyre fee, The Womam Ho Retred Wade's safe house was an old shrimp warehouse near Pier 17. Federal agents prepared to enter. But the building had wide windows facing the road. Wade would see them coming. I asked for the black ledger. Reed refused at first. It is evidence. It is what Wade wants. If I carry it inside, he will look at me instead of my mother. You are not trained for this. Neither was I trained to escape a sinking car. He did not like my plan, but we had no time. At 11:55, I walked alone toward the warehouse, carrying the ledger in a clear plastic bag. Agents hid inside empty buildings nearby. Maya watched from a van. A small camera was sewn into my jacket. Wade opened the door. Come in. My mother sat in the center of the room. Her face was bruised, but she was awake. Claire, leave, she cried. Wade pressed the pistol against her head. The ledger. Let her go first. He laughed. You still think you are negotiating? I held up the bag. This is the only proof of every officer and official you paid. Without it, Daniel takes the blame, and you disappear. With it, you can bargain. His eyes stayed on the book. Slide it over. I placed it on the floor and kicked it toward him. He bent to pick it up. My mother dropped sideways. I rushed him. He struck me across the face, and I hit the concrete. The gun fired once. Then agents poured through the doors. Wade grabbed my mother by the collar and dragged her toward the river platform. I followed while agents shouted for him to stop. Outside, a speedboat waited below. Wade pushed my mother onto the dock and aimed his gun at the fuel tank beside us. "Everyone back!" he yelled. The agents stopped. Wade ordered me into the boat with my mother. I climbed down first, then helped her. He followed, keeping the gun trained on us. The engine roared, and the boat shot into the river. Police boats moved from both sides. Wade steered toward the open ocean. "They will catch you," I said. "Not before I kill both of you." My mother looked at me. I saw fear in her eyes, but I also saw trust. Behind Wade was a red emergency fuel switch. I nodded toward it. My mother understood. She reached for the switch as I grabbed the wheel. The engine died. The boat turned sharply, throwing Wade against the railing. His gun slid across the deck. He caught my ankle and pulled me down. For a second, I was back in the sinking car. Cold spray hit my face. My injured shoulder struck the floor, and I could not breathe. Wade reached for the gun. My mother stepped on his hand. I took the weapon and pointed it at him. He stared at me. "Do it," he said. "After what they did to you, you want to." He was right. For one terrible moment, I wanted the river to take him as it had almost taken me. Then I lowered the gun. "No," I said. "You are going to live long enough to hear every guilty verdict." Police boarded the boat and arrested him. My mother held me as if she would never let go. 3 months later, the trial began. The case reached far beyond Daniel, Natalie, and Wade. The Black Ledger exposed 2 city officials, 3 inspectors, a police captain, and the doctor who had helped drug me. 27 families recovered property stolen through Daniel's hurricane scheme. Investors received part of their money back after the government seized his houses, cars, accounts, and private plane. Natalie pleaded guilty and testified against Daniel. She claimed she had loved him. Maybe she had, but love without conscience is only another form of greed. Wade pleaded guilty after prosecutors showed the jury his confession from the cannery and the video from my jacket. Daniel refused every deal. He believed he could charm 12 jurors the same way he had charmed investors, friends, and me. During the trial, his lawyers repeated his old story. I was emotional. I was forgetful. I was unstable. Then I walked to the witness stand. The courtroom became silent. I described the missing money, the medication, the boat ramp, and the water rising inside my car. I described watching my own funeral and seeing Daniel hold my mother's hand beside an empty coffin. His lawyer asked whether my injuries might have confused my memory. I looked directly at Daniel. "No," I said. "My injuries did not confuse me. They introduced me to my husband." The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Daniel was convicted of attempted murder, conspiracy, fraud, identity theft, money laundering, and kidnapping. The judge sentenced him to spend the rest of his life in prison. Before officers led him away, he turned to me. "You destroyed everything," he said. "No, Daniel. I opened the door. You built everything that was behind it." He waited for anger. I gave him none. That was my final revenge. For years, he had controlled me through love, doubt, and fear. If I hated him forever, he would still own a room inside my mind. I refused to give him even that. My mother kept her riverfront land. Instead of selling it, we created a small foundation there for families who had lost homes to dishonest developers. Maya published an investigation that changed state law and won an award she pretended not to care about. As for me, I never returned to the house on Wilmington Island. The government sold it with everything Daniel had bought using stolen money. I took only one thing before it was gone: the silver urn from my funeral. For a long time, it sat empty on a shelf in my new apartment. Then, on the first anniversary of the crash, I carried it to the river. My mother and Maya came with me. Inside the urn, I placed a copy of my false obituary, the blue anniversary photograph, and the medical papers Daniel had used to prove I was losing my mind. I added one final note. It said, "Here lies the woman who believed she needed someone else's permission to trust herself." I sealed the urn and lowered it into the water. The current carried it away. I watched until the silver disappeared beneath the morning light. People sometimes ask whether I still have nightmares about the night I almost died. I do. I still wake up hearing water against glass. I still check the locks twice. When a car follows me for too long, my hands tighten around the wheel. Surviving did not make me fearless. It taught me that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is choosing who you will become while fear is sitting beside you. Daniel tried to erase me because I discovered his secret. Instead, he erased the part of me that ignored my own instincts to protect his comfort. He gave me a funeral. He wrote my ending. He stood before everyone I loved and buried the truth beneath flowers. But stories do not belong to the person who lies loudest. They belong to the one who survives to tell them. My husband wanted the world to remember me as a broken woman who drove into a river. The world remembers something else now. It remembers the woman who came back from her own funeral and made sure the right man was buried by the truth. THEND